It means for the Limerick public, and indeed for the hurling public throughout the country, that we could have a potential mismatch here because of internal politics in Limerick.
It's unfortunate that we have to discuss on what should be one of hurling's big days, the Munster Hurling Championship semi-final, but what I find incredulous, Matt, really is the fact that when this should have been sorted out earlier on in the year at successive Limerick County Board meetings, because of procedures and it not on the agenda, it was actually deferred for a couple of months. Now, if Liam Griffin is running his business that way and he's a staff problem, you know, he doesn't wait and say, we'll meet next month or we'll meet the following month because I've got to adhere to procedures. This is a commercial entity as well. You know, county boards are run, they run systems, they run their clubs, etc., etc. And I think the Limerick County Board have got to hold their hands up in this situation. This should have been dealt with at the very start. There's no parallels with what happened in Cork this year. There was no agenda, in my view, on the players, you know, who aren't playing. And you see players like Demorns and Rail, Damien Rail. You know, these guys live for Limerick hurling, and they're known for it, that they give everything that they have for their county, and to see them maybe sitting in the stands today, looking at this thing, and looking at their county board, and the Limerick hurling public should be demanding answers as to why we have this scenario happening in Páirc Uí Chaoimh today.
Was Justin McCarthy right, though, Liam, given the hammering, the absolute humiliation for Limerick last year against Tipperary in the All-Ireland semi-final, that he had to do the things that he had to do, and the players should have just stuck with it?
It's like this, Matt. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I mean, how did it happen? I'm not sure of the full details, and I don't want to pillory Justin McCarthy, but let's be honest here. If what you're reading in the media and it hasn't come out, you know, we haven't seen the full story. I think the players, the way they were dropped, seem to be a major issue. Now, if that's true, it was wrong. There's no question about that. But look, we've got to start thinking a bit. You know, we talk about this. We get like some folksy in Ireland about all sorts of facilities and the wonderful Ireland and the green Ireland. Hurling is a fantastic game. No one's got a right to do this to hurling. This game is fragile enough as it stands, and this is an absolute abuse of a game. We've got a beautiful day, a nice new ball. And everyone here knows what that means. A band playing, you go into crowds. This is the days you live for. And here we are. I forecast it'll be like a damn squib of a bad league atmosphere at this match today. That's not paying justice to hurling. And who's the responsibility? The people who run hurling have the responsibility, and in Limerick in particular.
Well, and Jamesy, given that Munster is the most competitive province, that you have 5 counties who genuinely every year used to be able to go in feeling they had a shot at winning it, what long-term damage could it do to Limerick if they do get hammered as people expect today?
Well, Matt, 3 years ago, Limerick contested the All-Ireland Senior Final, and you know, this is a county that is swamped by rugby. They're fighting an uphill battle all the time to try and, you know, win the hearts and minds of young people in Limerick. And their flagship brand, their senior hurling team, are in danger of being wiped out today. Now, you know, just want to re-echo everything the guys have said. The Limerick County Board had a duty when this crisis first started to resolve it and resolve it quickly and move on the best interest of Limerick hurling. And you have to question, have they acted in the best interest of Limerick hurling? They're in Division 2 next year as well in the league. That won't be an easy place to come out of. Clare have had 12 months instead of you know, going to Carlow and Laois and fighting tooth and nail to come out with narrow victory. So Limerick hurling is not in a good place. Division 2 is not where they need to be, and as I said, it could be a long way back, and this may take 2 or 3 years to solve again.
And it's not as if we haven't been here before. We have just recently the experience of the Cork situation, and on the back of that knowledge, to fail to take action is absolutely unforgivable.
Well, when we...
Surprising, the Cork manager Dennis Walsh starts 14 of that winning combination again. The man missing is Tom Kenny, who has a hamstring problem, so Middleton's Lorcan McLaughlin gets his chance in midfield. It's the new-look Limerick team that travel to the banks of the Lee. Tadhg Flynn is quite a dependable goalkeeper, while wing-back Sean O'Riordan plays his club hurling with Cork champions Newtown Chandrum. James O'Brien and Paudie McNamara will provide some invaluable experience to a side that has courageously played throughout the league in troubled times on Shannon's side. Ball runs down towards Kieran Murphy. Coming through the middle, however, is Jerry O'Connor. Quick response by Cork. As he lashes that over the crossbar. Well picked up by Andrew Brennan. Jerry O'Connor is there. Pulled on one-handed, but it worked out fine. Pick up the first time wasn't great. The second time it is. It's Brennan again coming through the middle. Uses the short grip, and that's over the bar. Andrew Brennan from Caherline, showing that he certainly isn't fearful of the Corkmen. Breaking ball favours Ben O'Connor. About to greet him and say hello is Kieran O'Rourke. In for Saki O'Halpine. Drops it the first time, gathers the second, and consequently steps up a gear. Chance here for Cork if they bear down on a goal. Is that a penalty? It is. no doubt about it, that Shane O'Neill fouled Pat Horgan. Pat Horgan buries it. Unstoppable. He went straight between Shane O'Neill and his keeper, Tyke Flynn. Puck up by Flynn is straight down the middle. Nipping in here is Graham Mulcahy. Having a pop. The response to the Limerick supporters says, that's a good one. Nipping in here, working hard, was Graham Mulcahy from Kilmallock. He did well. Niall McCarthy showing well. Trying to get around Sean O'Riordan. O'Riordan chasing after. McCarthy trying to set up Jerry O'Connor. Brian O'Sullivan is there for Limerick, guarding the path to goal. Jerry O'Connor into the middle to Lachlan McLaughlin. Is he capable of scoring from there? He certainly is. Here come Cork again. Niall McCarthy is calling for it, unmarked. Stepping by Kieran O'Rourke. Makes an angle for himself, tries to send it back outside for his Pat Horgan. Horgan wins the tussle when he really shouldn't have. Still Horgan tries to get a touch to it. The referee blows his whistle and it's another penalty. It was a ball really that Limerick should have cleared. Is this a case of deja vu? Here's Horgan, second penalty. Stopped brilliantly. A vital save. Brilliantly stopped by Tyke Flynn. Anthony Owens. Nice ball inside for us. O'Brien is bearing down on goal. It's inside, the referee blows his whistle. Is there a push inside the large rectangle? There is, and there's a penalty for Limerick. Well, after the exchange of the verbals between Paddy McNamara and Donald Cusick, let's see what McNamara has. Hits it low, saved by Donald. Put back in. It's still there for Limerick, but Cork converge on the slither. And they move forward out towards the sideline, much to the delight of the home support. Stopped by Donald Cusick. Cleared eventually. Hefty challenge on Hurling. And tempers are becoming frayed. And the referee will be called into stern action here, I feel. Most unsavoury. Game played in sporting fashion up to now. It was a hefty challenge on Hurling that started the rumpus. And the action and the colour of the card is going to be interesting. It's a straight red. Here's Graham Mulcahy. Difficult enough angle. That is a great score by Mulcahy. 3 points from play. But he really is an impressive hurler.
Some of the things Limerick have done going forward and the scores they've taken.
Yeah, definitely. Graham Mulcahy has been a revelation in corner forward. Some wonderful scores taken. Cork just seemed to take the foot off the pedal.
This is Andrew Brennan, one of the first points.
Very midfielder attacking. I mean, Cathal Naughton is probably the quickest player in the Cork team, or one of the quickest players, but I mean, he was willing to have a go at him, and in fairness to Limerick, they are trying and they are having a go at it. Anthony Owens as well, a big full forward, has got a great score. That's Graham Mulcahy. That's as good a championship point as you're going to see.
Liam, you've been very impressed by Mulcahy, haven't you?
I give him man of the match so far. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is watch this. This is, if Henry Shevlin did it or DJ Carey did it, we'll be all raving about it. That's an extremely good point. That's a real Ben O'Connor type point, and I would give him man of the match so far.
Does this suggest, James, that there were, if you had mix of the players who left the panel, 24 from last year, some of the players you have here today, Limerick would have been competitive in this game?
There's no question about it. I mean, as I said, they were in the All-Ireland final 3 years ago, Matt. I mean, they had a core of good players. This guy's been a real find. I mean, Sells a cornerback here. 3 fantastic scores on the guy's day.
And it was a bad foul he'd experienced.
It was, yeah. He went straight into his back. But listen, you can't do that. You can't pull back like that.
No, I saw it first. I thought he didn't, but I think he did. He just flung out to Hurley, and he wasn't upset if he got caught anybody in the end of it. It looked like, so he had to go.
And the disadvantage that puts Limerick at was bad enough, wasn't it?
It's bad enough, and they're now at a really big disadvantage. And I think Cork will get a little bit of a lecture at half time as well.
Why? Did you feel their attitude wasn't right in the first half?
I just don't think they're driving on in the game. But then having that might suit them going into the next to the Munster final. If they hammer these people, there'll be all the talk about Cork again. So it might be just suiting Cork the way the game is actually going.
And they're very.
Runs kindly for John Gardner. Sends it back. Right smack between the posts. Easy point for the Piercing man. Niall McCarthy, without any pressure or hustle, gets his 3rd point of the game. Easy ball for McCarthy, easy score. Graham Mulcahy getting inside the Cork cover, sending it across the face of the goal. It was a touch. Graham Mulcahy got inside O'Neill here. Despite his difficult angle, yes, good save by Donald Cusick. Clear message for the Limerick County Board and officials and delegates. Michael Cusson. Referee says play on. Paddy O'Sullivan turns on David Breen. There's only one thing on his mind. Can he do it? He can. Did well, battled it past goalkeeper Ty Flynn. Once he turned David Breen, it was trouble for Limerick with a capital T. Ronan Curran. Frankie Murphy. Looks good. It's his 2nd point of this Munster semi-final. The referee blows the full-time whistle. Cork, without ever going into top gear, are through to the Munster final. Full-time score in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Cork 219, Limerick 12 points.
Again, we probably a bit like the league final, played as maybe a 9 or 10 man team rather than a 15-man game, which we did against Tipperary. And that to me would be the main thing. But we had a few outstanding performances today, and I'm pleased with that.
So we're just looking forward to Waterford now in 3 weeks' time. Like, we know Waterford's going to be an absolute huge battle. Like I think every time we play them, there's a puck of the ball in it, and the prize is huge. Like, you beat Waterford, you're through to a semi-final in Ireland. You lose, you're in a quarter-final, and we're no different than any team. We want to go straight in the front door.
Look, we're disappointed coming down here. We're a proud Hurling county. And there's some great lads in that dressing room, and we have to come in thinking we have a great chance to win, and of course we're going to be disappointed. It's Munster Championship, and Limerick's record in the Munster Championship in the last decade isn't good enough, and we're a proud Hurling county, and we'll just have to work at that, and hopefully next year we can give the Munster Championship a better rattle.
Next year is an interesting year for Limerick, but before we chat about Limerick, Donald, what about Cork? It was no win for them, really, was it?
No, and it's very, very difficult days to get up for a game like that, because you're expected to win, and you know deep down that, look, no matter how good or bad you play, you're going to get over this one, and that means your focus is going to drop then. And Cork, to an extent, went through the motions, played half, 3/4 pace. Like, wouldn't have done against Tip or wouldn't do against Waterford, but it was good enough to beat Limerick today.
So what did you pick out then?
Well, I thought early on the only hope Limerick had was a good start, and Isaac Alpine picked out Pat Horgan here with a nice little pass, and once he was pulled down, ended up as a penalty. And Pat Horgan is very good at striking these, and there's no question but that it was a penalty. Hit it very well to the left of the keeper, up to the right corner back where he was, and great goal, and that put Limerick under pressure. So Cork were able to pick out the little points at will. Really good point there by Niall McCarthy to Jerry O'Connor, and then just just support out of the plane, you know, the simple little thing, right? But, you know, Cork, this was at the end of the first half now, it began, you know, a bit of self-indulgence, and this, you know, Ben O'Connor's well capable of knocking 65s over the bar and gives it to Lachlan McLaughlin eventually, and the ball is struck wide, and, you know, if you were a manager on the line, like, you'd be cracking up over this. And the next clip, you know.
What happened to them last year in the All-Ireland semi-final when they were humiliated? Dublin beat them by 31 points in the league, so wasn't this actually, you know, they got into championship action. They did better than last year's team.
It was, I stand corrected. It was a very brave performance. But that's only covering up the bigger issue, what's going on here, and that is what's going on in Limerick hurling. I personally am very disappointed with the Limerick County Board. I'm very disappointed with Justin. Justin's a Cork man, he's not a Limerick man. Justin can walk away from Limerick hurling. The Limerick County Board can't walk away from their responsibility to the clubs of Limerick and to the hurling fraternity in Limerick. Justin was brought in to try and amalgamate and bring together 3 under-21 All-Ireland winning teams. That didn't work out. Bulk of the players walked away or were dropped by Justin and refused to come back. Once that happened, where does principle come into it? That Justin, in my view, should have turned to the Limerick County Board and said, what you guys brought me in for, I can no longer proceed with and do because the players have lost faith in me. The Limerick County Board stood back and allowed this thing fester. And I mean, it was a very brave performance. You have a lot of sympathy for those guys that are out there today. They're proud to wear the jersey. Their families are down there watching them today, and they're proud of them. And many Limerick people will be proud of them. But that's irrespective. That's not good enough, Matt, at the end of the day.
Liam, you feel sorry for some of the players today as well. You think they were asked by the county board or by Justin McCarthy to bear an unreasonable burden?
Yeah, well, let's be honest about this. No one has given the exact full facts. Like, when there's all sorts of rumour that the players were texted, told they weren't about to go on the panel or not. But whatever happened, it should have come out exactly as it was, and the decision should have been made. It's just not fair to the young lads to bring them on like that. I mean, they were never going to refuse Limerick jerseys. So it's unfair to them to expect them to go out and perform and be able to do it at the highest level. And they'd be punishing the wrong fellas, really. You know, at the end of the day, it still all boils down. Management must manage. The management of that team is the responsibility of the Limerick County Board. Now, I don't know, maybe these players did something dreadful on Justin that none of us know about. I don't know anything about that. But the Limerick County Board's job is to manage on behalf of the team. And to let it fester, as I said earlier, in the wake of the Cork situation before it, we have precedent, like. And I just think that's just bad management top to bottom.
Yeah, could it be? I mean, there were 12 players were left off the Limerick squad. Now, no matter what the circumstances, other players left. So 24 of last year's squad unavailable this year die. Now, could it be that there are times when the manager and the administrators are right? We were looking at what's going on with the French World Cup soccer team at the moment. The players are backing Nicolas Anelka, who'd shown disrespect to the manager. I mean, could there be times when you have to say the manager's right?
Yes, of course. And Liam was right. Managers have to manage, and everybody has their part to play. And players are expected to go out and play, train to the best of their ability, and do what they can when they pull a county jersey on. The manager has got to get the guys together, you know, try to get them to perform to the best as possible. And the county board then puts in place and facilitates everything that the manager requires to make it happen. I think the problem here is principally that the county board, once this whole issue blew up and the players had withdrawn their services and Justin was digging his feet in, the county board went, I think a county board meeting maybe in February, a county board meeting in March, and it wasn't on the agenda because it wasn't adhering to procedures. Now, as we related earlier on, you wouldn't run a business like that. There was a problem in Limerick hurling. The Limerick people, and I know the people in Limerick as well as you do, Jamesy, you know, and you were talking to them on a regular basis and they were aghast at what was going on. I mean...
And then why did nobody take a grip of it? Are there not strong personalities in Limerick? Were there not mediators who could have been brought in from the outside? Could this not have been dealt with months ago?
Well, I have a major issue here where Croke Park, you know, come out and say we can't involve ourselves at county board level. I think that's a cop-out and a walk-away. You know, we can assume that Justin has been recompensed by the Limerick County Board or supporters club or whoever it is. And if that's the case and he has been paid and the players and 24 players refuse to play under him and the county board lets it fester, Croke Park can't walk away from that.
Yeah. And how it'll affect their development is a big question. And of course, you know, that banner maybe says it all, you know, what's going to happen for next year, because this year is over for them anyway.
Without getting into the whole debate of the season that's gone, Ger, but that sign shows the frustration, and there were lots of Limerick supporters there today.
Yeah, you see,
it was a third choice team in effect, was it?
It was terrible, and even yesterday when I was at the Féile talking to different people, you know, they were totally disgusted, even though they're not from Limerick, because the Munster Championship is kind of sacred to everybody, and everybody wants to see big games in the Munster Championship. You know, 13,000 there at Limerick and Cork, one of the big rivalries in Munster. It's terrible to see it, but you know, you can ask anyone a solution, they're all saying the Limerick County Board. The Limerick County Board are not going to solve this, because the Limerick County Board is made up of fellas who are genuine. You know, they're not devious in any way, but They're the type of fellas you'd have in charge of a junior B team. You wouldn't put them near a senior team. You know, honest people, but they haven't the ability to solve this. So the solution,
who can solve
the
it?
solution has to come from the outside. I mean, the GA have to take responsibility. That one of the units, one of the family, as they call it, one of the family has gone astray, and who can sort it out? Only a higher authority. And the higher authority has to be Croke Park. And I think Paul Duffy and Christy Cooney, you know, and I like both of them now. I think they have a huge responsibility to get people around the table and to sort this out, and to sort it out very, very quickly, because there is a big danger that Justin could be there for the next 2 years, and that will bring about the total destruction, because you saw the other team today, they tried very hard, they were honest guys, but they're way below the standard. And you know, the spin will put on it, oh, give these a few more years and Limerick will have a team. They won't have a team, they won't be as good as that again.
If Christy Cooney and Porrick go down and say, whatever, remove him or talk to players, the county board are entitled to say, we appointed this man and we want to back him. Well, so how can they get involved in that?
I think what started in Cork were the people started it. You know, the people.
Well,
you know,
eventually
the people will sort it. Eventually, the people will have to sort it,
right.
and it'll stay as bad as it is until the people do sort it. You know, the people have this because the county board are unable to do it on their own. And I think number one, Justin has to go. And in any other county, what would you have? You'd have the like of Stephen McDonough, Kieran Carey, great fellas like that who have great ability. TJ Ryan, put him in charge of the team, and they would revive the spirit of Limerick. And that's all people want. They want to see the spirit of Limerick revived again, and I think that is the only solution to it.
And Tommy, is it easy to revive the spirit of Limerick? Well,
look, I mean, it's about getting the best players on the pitch. When that happens, you know, that's the first thing. As the lad said, you just couldn't look at that for another season. In all fairness, and as Donal rightly pointed out, it's very difficult on those players. You could hear the despair in Brian O'Sullivan's voice after the match. I mean, it's very, very difficult. They're doing their level best, and they're after suffering some heavy defeats, and that'll take a while to get out of their system.
All right then, thanks for that. Competition